Before the first kings carved their names into stone, before the first priests counted years by the movement of stars, before history began to remember itself, there were people who lived, built, explored, traded, dreamed, and vanished, leaving behind questions so vast they still echo beneath our feet. Because if human history truly begins only 5,000 or 6,000 years ago, then how do we explain the cities older than writing, the monuments aligned with the heavens, the tools that seem too precise for their age, the myths that speak of golden eras long lost, and the uncomfortable truth that the ground beneath our modern world may be layered with civilizations we were never meant to find, civilizations that existed before recorded history and whose stories were erased not by malice alone but by time itself, a force that does not discriminate between truth and legend, because when we look back far enough, the past stops speaking in words and begins to whisper through stone, soil, and silence, and it is there in that silence that this story begins, with the realization that for more than 95% of our existence as a species, humanity lived without writing, without chronicles, without dates, and yet not without intelligence, culture, or ambition, because long before the first cuneiform tablet was pressed into clay in Mesopotamia, around 3200 BCE, humans had already spread across every continent except Antarctica, mastered fire, crafted complex tools, buried their dead with ritual care, and gazed at the night sky with curiosity that bordered on reverence. And if civilization is defined not merely by writing, but by social organization, shared belief systems, technological innovation, and monumental construction, then the question is not whether civilizations existed before recorded history, but how many there were, how advanced they became, and why they disappeared so completely that history forgot their names. And to understand this, we must travel back not thousands, but tens of thousands of years, to a time when the world itself was different, when massive ice sheets covered much of the northern hemisphere, when sea levels were hundreds of feet lower than today, exposing vast coastal plains now submerged, when rivers carved paths through landscapes now drowned, and when human populations lived along shorelines that no longer exist, meaning that entire chapters of our story lie underwater, beyond easy reach, because archaeology favors dry land, and history favors survivors. Yet even on land, the evidence is startling, beginning with Göbekli Tepe in southeastern Turkey, a site so old and so unexpected that it forced scholars to rewrite the narrative of civilization itself, because dated to around 9600 BCE, more than 6,000 years before Stonehenge and the pyramids of Egypt, Göbekli Tepe consists of massive T-shaped stone pillars, some weighing up to 20 tons, arranged in circular enclosures and carved with intricate reliefs of animals, symbols, and abstract forms. And what makes this site revolutionary is not only its age, but the fact that it was built by hunter-gatherers, people who, according to traditional models, should not have possessed the social organization, labor coordination, or symbolic culture required to construct such a monument, and yet they did, suggesting that complex ritual and shared belief may have preceded agriculture, not followed it, overturning the long-held assumption that farming was the foundation of civilization, because here, at the dawn of the Holocene, humans gathered not to plant crops but to build something monumental, something sacred, something that mattered enough to mobilize entire communities for generations, and then, just as mysteriously, they buried it, intentionally covering the site with earth and rubble, preserving it for millennia but also erasing it from memory, as if one civilization was deliberately closing a chapter before another could read it. And Göbekli Tepe is not alone, because nearby sites like Karahan Tepe and other recently discovered settlements suggest an entire network of pre-agricultural cultures engaged in large-scale construction, ritual complexity, and symbolic expression, raising the unsettling possibility that what we call the birth of civilization was not a sudden miracle, but the visible remnant of a much longer, deeper process whose earliest stages remain hidden. And if you're finding this exploration of humanity's forgotten past intriguing, Take a moment right now to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification so you never miss our next deep dive into the mysteries of our world, because the story only gets bigger from here as we reconsider the nature of prehistoric societies across the globe, from the stone circles of Nabta Playa in the Sahara, aligned with celestial events and dated to around 6,000 BCE, to the sophisticated earthworks of the Amazon rainforest, where recent discoveries using LiDAR technology have revealed vast geometric structures, roads, canals, and settlements buried beneath dense vegetation, indicating that the Amazon was once home to large, organized populations capable of landscape-scale engineering long before European contact, challenging the myth of an untouched wilderness and hinting at a civilization that adapted to its environment in ways modern societies are only beginning to understand. And this pattern repeats across continents, because in China, the Jiahu site, dating back to around 7000 BCE, has yielded evidence of early music in the form of bone flutes, fermented beverages made from rice and honey, and symbolic markings that may represent an early form of proto-writing, while in Europe the megalithic cultures that built Stonehenge, Newgrange, and countless dolmens left behind monuments precisely aligned with solstices and equinoxes, suggesting a deep understanding of astronomy and timekeeping, yet no written records to explain their purpose or beliefs, leaving us to piece together their worldviews from architecture and myth. And then there is the ocean, the great eraser of history, because during the last ice age, sea levels were dramatically lower, exposing continental shelves that would have been prime locations for human settlement, rich in resources and easily navigable. And when the ice melted rapidly at the end of the Pleistocene around 12,000 years ago, those coastlines flooded, submerging villages, cities, and entire ways of life. And it is here that theories of lost civilizations gain their strongest footing, not as fantasies of impossible technology, but as logical consequences of geography and climate. Because if humans lived along coasts for tens of thousands of years, as evidence suggests, then the archaeological record we possess is incomplete by default, biased toward inland survivors and the submerged ruins discovered off the coasts of India, Japan, and the Mediterranean hint at what may lie hidden beneath the waves, from the enigmatic Yonaguni monument near Japan, whose stepped, angular formations have sparked debate over whether they are natural or man-made, to the underwater structures in the Gulf of Cambay, where sonar imaging has revealed what appear to be rectilinear features and artifacts dating back thousands of years before known Indian civilizations, reminding us that history is not a fixed script, but an evolving investigation shaped by evidence, interpretation, and sometimes resistance to uncomfortable ideas, because accepting the existence of pre-recorded civilizations forces us to confront the fragility of knowledge itself, the fact that entire cultures can rise to complexity and vanish without leaving words behind, remembered only in stone and story. And stories, after all, may be the oldest record of all, because myths from around the world speak of lost golden ages, of great floods, of ancestors who possessed wisdom now forgotten, from the Sumerian tale of Ziusudra to the biblical story of Noah, from the Hindu accounts of previous yugas to the Greek legend of Atlantis described by Plato, which, whether literal or allegorical, reflects a cultural memory of catastrophe and loss. And while myths are not history in the modern sense, they are not meaningless either, because they encode human experiences, fears, and observations passed down through generations, distorted by time but rooted in reality. And when we consider the Younger Dryas, a sudden and dramatic climate event that occurred around 12,900 years ago, plunging much of the northern hemisphere back into near-glacial conditions, just as humans were beginning to settle more permanently, the convergence of myth and science becomes striking, because this period saw massive environmental upheaval, megafaunal extinctions, and disruptions to human populations worldwide, a plausible trigger for widespread collapse and cultural memory of a world destroyed. And if early civilizations existed before this event, as sites like Göbekli Tepe suggest, then it is not unreasonable to imagine that some were wiped out or transformed beyond recognition, their survivors carrying fragments of knowledge into new societies that would later invent writing and call themselves the first. And this raises a profound question about progress itself, because history often assumes a linear ascent from simplicity to complexity, from ignorance to enlightenment. But the archaeological record tells a messier story of advances followed by setbacks, of knowledge gained and lost, of civilizations that mastered their environments only to be undone by forces beyond their control, reminding us that modernity is not the culmination of an inevitable march forward, but the latest chapter in a long, uncertain experiment called human civilization. And as we approach the end of this journey into humanity's forgotten past, if you want to continue uncovering stories that challenge what we think we know, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell notification so you never miss our next documentary, because the civilizations that existed before recorded history may be silent, but their echoes are still shaping who we are, waiting beneath the surface for those willing to listen, not just to what the past recorded, but to what it tried and sometimes failed to remember.